It's Wednesday morning in Lagos, and indeed it's a special one, the first of its kind in the new year. Good morning, everyone. Happy New Year to you, and welcome to 2020. They call it the dawn of a new decade. On behalf of Uncle Yuri and the entire production crew, we would love to say a big thank you for the outgone year. And let's do it even bigger and better in 2020. Now, this is the year Nigeria has fondly spoken about in the past decade. You remember the vision 2020. So recall it was launched in 2009 on the former late former president Umaru Musa Yar'Adua. The idea was actually initiated by his predecessor, former President Olusegun Obasanjo, in 2006. Now, according to reports, the planning process for this particular program involved the commissioning of 1,000 experts who worked for over 9 months to produce a draft document that had about 7 principles. And one of those principles is indeed to make Nigeria one of the 20 largest economies in the world by the year 2020, as well as moving the nation from a third-class country to indeed a industrialized one. So I'm going to leave you to decide whether that vision has been fulfilled. But today we're going to be projecting into the new year, vis-a-vis taking a review of Mr. President's New Year speech. I am Nifemi Oguntoye. Welcome on board. I'm joined this morning by security consultant and former assistant director, State Security Service, Dennis Amakri Emohan. Glad to have you come, and Happy New Year to you.
Good morning. Happy New Year.
Reverend Yomi Kasali is the founder and senior pastor of the Foundation of Truth Assembly, headquartered in Lagos. He's also founder of non-governmental organization 5 Loaves, 2 Fishes. He's the president of Berean Ministers Group and secretary of the Nigerian Coalition of Apostolic Leaders. The list is very long, so let me just stop there. Well, good morning and glad to have you come.
Thank you.
So I read somewhere where they called you the one who speaks bitter truth to power. So I hope you came with your pews of bitter truth this morning.
Thank you.
Let me begin with you. The new year has become some sort of a big deal, not only in Nigeria, but across the world. So we saw TV yesterday in cities like Sydney and Bangkok enter the new year before most of the world. And it's usually celebrated with massive fireworks and, funfair, what have you. But help us understand just how significant it is to enter the new year and what many call the dawn of a new decade.
Well, Happy New Year to all our viewers out there. I'm glad to be here today to share my thoughts on what this decade portends for us and projects for us. New Year celebration is, I don't want to speak biblically as it were, just speak maybe generally speaking, it's the beginning of a new season, a new day. Just like you wake up in the morning and you feel strong, you feel energized, you feel enthused to start a new day. That's what the first of every January looks to and should be to any creature out there. It helps you to put the past behind. It helps you to look at the failures, the challenges, the issues that had probably besieged you the previous year. They say, well, you know what, let me give it another shot. It's another shot to go out there and do something new. But why this year is particularly interesting is because it's a new decade. Okay. Every time you start a new decade, there's this enthusiasm, this optimism, this joy, this energy levels are high. People say, wow, we're starting again and afresh. The fact that you're seeing a new decade and you can be part of that will end old decade gives you some renewed vigor. I mean, wow, for me, it's the best thing that can happen to anyone.
No wonder Mr. President says it's time of hope, optimism, and fresh possibilities. So yes. Many people were either in churches or at a party between 11:55. It's amazing if you're a church goer, how the church auditorium just become full within that period of time. And once it's New Year, everyone just dash out. In your opinion, what makes today any different from yesterday?
Well, it is this particular year, just like the pastor has said, is a new decade. And for me, as a security person, I think the last decade was a very, very trying period. 2011, we started the decade with the 9/11 bombing of the Twin Towers in the United States. And all through the decade, we've had all kinds of ISIS here, Al-Qaeda there, Boko Haram,
now
affecting us, and all kinds of things. Poverty, corruption has been the bane of the human race. Food security has been a big problem, especially in this country. So there's a new door opening for us now. This is a new decade. And I think with all the plans that we've had all along, it might be the chance for us now to perfect those plans, security-wise or human-wise, to make this decade a different one from the last one that we just left.
So it's characteristic of clergymen to name the year after a particular prophetic slant. So believing that each season has its own peculiarities and experience. So some even go to the extent of, specifically predicting certain events and occurrences that will happen in the course of the year. Do you believe in this? And have you heard God about 2020?
Very clearly. Very clearly, I believe so much in the prophetic. What you call predictions, we call prophecy. Secularly, they call it predictions. And predictions is a bit different from prophecy. I can predict that you're going to put to bed if you're 3 months pregnant in 6 months' time. That's prediction. Yeah. Oh, you're 3 months pregnant in 6 months, you're going to put to bed. That's prediction. I can predict if you come out with a first class in one Ivy League school that you're likely to get a good job. That's prediction. But prophecy is saying something that nobody can ever look into. Exactly. It's someone seeing into the future. Or, you and I believe that there's God, and God knows tomorrow. If we know there's God, God knows tomorrow, God owns tomorrow, and God can reveal what's in the future to his own servants. That process of revelation is called prophecy. When that man now declares that which he has heard or seen will happen in December, nobody has gone through this year or this decade, but God has gone through it. Somebody prophesied about 9/11. They thought it was nuts. Somebody said there's going to be so and so and so. The Bible is a book of prophecy. And so I strongly believe in that, and we think Nigerians should believe in that. The only point is we have many false prophets, So you get to wonder, wait a minute, who should I believe right now? Yesterday I told them in church, I said in church that God said to us in the Bible that believe in the Lord your God, you shall be established. Believe in his prophets. And I had to emphasize the word believe in and believe is. That God did not say we should believe in his prophets. So I told my church, don't you ever believe in me. If I'm mortal, I'm human. But believe me. To believe in me is just believe what God has said through me, but to believe in God. So I think sometimes we've swapped it. We now believe in the prophets, not believe in the Lord. Exactly. So prophecy is real, prophecy is strong. I'm a product of prophecy. I've seen things that we have said and happened. In our church many years ago, I saw a vision of Boko Haram coming. I didn't even know. I said, I saw a white horse rider. It was like 9 years ago from the northeast. 2 years after it broke out. Says, you saw it. I just saw what I saw. I showed you and I told you. I had no clue.
Have you seen anything precisely now?
I won't tell you some
for
things
Nigeria. All right. There's no doubt about that. Let's begin to project towards 2020. And I love us to begin with the Vision 2020. Yeah. So by 2020, Nigeria was supposed to be one of the 20 largest economies in the world, able to consolidate its leadership role in Africa and establish itself as a significant player in the global economic and political arena. Now, as of today, we're told that Nigeria is 27 on that list, given the GDP, and that it would take us another 20 years to actually make the top 20. The big question is, was that ambition too high to have made some years ago, I think 2009 precisely, or was there not enough commitment to back it up?
No, it is not a vision too high. Nigeria, remember, the potentials of this country are things that we don't realize as Nigerians. Today everybody talks about the United States, you talk about UK or wherever, but you see, we should also be talking about Nigeria, because you see, we have the manpower, we have the land space, we are totally blessed, totally blessed. Mineral resources, all kinds of things, agriculture, everything. So, in fact, we should be able to be right on top, competing with the United States or Singapore or Malaysia, right there. But because of those three things that have been our bane, we've been pulled back. And those three are corruption,
absolutely,
security, and of course, the ability to manage our economy, and those are the things we've been grappling with. I was listening to the president's speech, and he has reiterated those things again, and I hope, he's tried, because at least we, for once, we've been starting to address the corruption issue. where some even governors that have been corrupt for so many years are now sentenced to jail. We hope that the trend will continue, whereby everybody feels that it's a free-for-all where you can just go in, grab what you want. The people are in penury, and then, of course, you see all those people flying private jets. So let's see whether something is going to change, and we're going to move towards that. Because Nigeria, I can tell you one thing, is a very rich country, and we can achieve our dreams and aims and objectives. But if that corruption thing continues, then we'll just be marking time or smiling in the dark.
Reverend Kasali,
yes.
It appears you are on the same page with Mr. President. He also believes in prophecy, so he has declared this is a decade of prosperity, and perhaps at the end of 10 years, we're going to also find out whether Mr. President saw it clearly in his dream or not. But we are told that Nigeria is not alone in the Committee of Nations that have, been so ambitious and have failed. There's what they call the China's Great Leap Forward campaign in 1958, which resulted in what many now call the Great Chinese Famine. There's also the issue in Russia and Japan and the rest. But for Vision 2020, it wasn't only a vision that was domesticated in Nigeria. It was a vision that foreigners even helped us see. Somewhere in the university in America, they sat down and saw that, oh, the prospect for Nigeria is ripe, and Nigeria can just hit it and make top 20 by 2020. Now, let me borrow a portion of the scripture that talks about the integrity of the heart and the skillfulness of hand. Have we at any time in the history of our leadership have a combination of two, leaders with integrity and leaders who have the capacity, for instance, what you said, to revamp the economy?
I doubt it. I want to agree with my brother Makri here with respect to why Vision 2020 hasn't been a reality today. If you recall, even in the 60s, back in the 60s, Nigeria was projected to be in the top 10 with the trajectories then, top 10 economy in the world. Lee Kuan Yew came here to learn. He came to Nigeria, went to Ghana, and he said, look, these two countries have the potential of growing, of moving higher. Of course, he went to Singapore and he developed over the last 40 years his own country to become in the top 20. I think we have failed leadership. I would say some things here that probably you may not like. I totally believe that the democracy we're practicing right now is not going to work. It's not working for Nigeria. It's not working. I'm not saying democracy cannot work. It's a government of the people for the people. People matter. Of course, but we have in this country 65% of Nigerians are not literate. So in other words, you have to consider that people factor. To say if your people are not enlightened and educated enough to know their rights, to understand the kind of government they're running, how can they make the right choices? So and so the elite, the political elite, have taken undue advantage of the illiteracy of the masses to subjugate, to oppress, and to continue.
And yet we still have 10 million children out of school.
You're getting it, exactly, 10 million. So the way it's being practiced now, my brother, I'm not seeing anything good. I don't want to prophesy doom. I'm not saying anything good with respect to economy. With security, like I said, it's very right. But security just came in about 9 years ago. So you look at the last 20 years, we haven't had this terrible security challenge. I think the major problem in this country is corruption. Corruption, let's eat it hard. Then this kind of government. I don't know if you have to go back to parliamentary system, because you see, when you have a government where 65% of your resources are used to fund the current, it doesn't make sense. Meaning 35%, you can't free up resources to do development on roads, infrastructure, health, education, airports, to attract investors, to protect your citizens. It doesn't look good. You have mass exodus of people going to Canada, Australia, the new destinations. And the way it's going on, my projections and my prophecy, it's going to get worse. It's going to get worse. So when you have your brightest and your best leaving the shores of your country, and they have charlatans coming in from the border, why won't you close the borders? Coming everywhere to come and feel the land of the living. It might get worse, except we come together, sit together, and say, hey guys, let's put something together. Let's make this country together.
Well, before the end of this show, we might eventually get his full prophecy, because
he's letting
it out gradually. But I think it's right to have said that we seem to have a big challenge having the best of us leave this nation. So I look at my circle of friends, and the people that I consider to be doing better, I mean, people who are richer, are the ones who actually are leaving this nation to Canada. But we can't just put all of this burden on leadership. What's the role of the Nigerians, the people called Nigerians, to actually take up this project called Nigeria, believe in it, and run with it?
Well, number one, we can't put it on the Nigerians, but, you know, we have a representation, the House of Rep.
Exactly.
You know, 774 local governments produced these people, and they are supposed to represent us. Now, I think the basic problem I'm seeing is lack of patriotism. We don't believe in this country. All of us believe in our different, you know, ethnic groups and stuff like that. When you see appointments made, the first thing they look is how many Yorubas are in there, how many Hausas, how many Fulani, how many minorities are they there? Oh, no minority. Oh, no Easterner. So, oh, okay, forget about this government. We've just forgotten about it. We want to see a country where meritocracy works, you know. You cannot say that any part of this country is disadvantaged, because I know very well, I've interacted with people across this country. I've been to all the states in this country, and I know that there are people who are well-educated, well-spoken, and who can take this country forward. Those people are not in that House of Representation. You know, and for those people that are there, if they really want to be patriotic, then they can pull us out. But I don't think they are there for us. Because apparently what they are doing, how can you, we don't have roads, we don't have airports. I was listening to the Minister for Aviation this morning, and he was saying that our Murtala Mohammed Airport, the premier airport in this country, was built some many years ago, and it was built for 200,000 people. And right now the traffic is 8 million. Meanwhile, we don't want to expand it. And meanwhile, we have representatives who are trying to renovate their house.
37 billion.
With how many? 37 billion.
Yeah, doesn't make sense.
I don't know whether they are really listening to, you know, what is happening. You know, you just don't go in there and then see what you can grab into your pockets. And then when we collect this money, we travel out, we go to Dubai, we go to the United States, we look at the...
But really, that brings me to the issue of what are the Nigerian people doing about it? There is a place in the Constitution to recall a lawmaker that is not representing the interest of his or
you
our
see
constituency.
what the pastor said here? A very large number of us
Exactly.
are illiterates.
Absolutely.
We don't even know how to vote.
Exactly.
You know, when INEC will every year, no, last year was an election year, and then just look at the election. People go there, you have a bag of rice with a politician's name on it, and then, or you break a loaf of bread open, and there are some naira notes in there, and then you go and vote for the person, or you go and snap a picture of, you know, the person that you voted for, and then you go and collect the money for voting that person. It does not make any sense. We are not educated, you know, and when you are not educated, how do you know the issues?
There's a lot to talk about in such a short time, but let's turn our attention very quickly to Mr. President's speech earlier today. He said, I'll be standing down in 2023 and would not be available in any future elections. That's the headline. He says, but I'm determined to help strengthen the electoral process both in Nigeria and across the region, where several ECOWAS members go to the polls this year. Prior to this time, there were talks about a hidden third time agenda. Just how much impact do you think this statement would have as we count down to 2023?
I don't think he's going to run. I think he's a very honest man. I met him once or twice in my life. He gives me the impression he's a very honest man. Has he made good decisions? Yes. Some bad decisions? Many. Terrible ones? Many. Just like any human being. You get the point now? Does it make him a bad person? No. Just makes him a human being. He's not a perfect person, but he has great intentions for the country. He's not going to run in 2023. I think it's honest. People just like to do things to create, to hate inequality, distrust, to preach hate and hatred for people. People just do that. And sometimes I would appreciate if those that are in the opposition can engage issues and not persons. I think that becomes, that's why I say our democracy is quite immature. The players are very inexperienced, and we're playing tribal politics, like you said. I mean, few people will speak like Mr. Makri said. I have been saying that for years, that we should bring the best. And when I look at the list, I don't ask, how many Igbos, Yorubas are there? I look at how many good guys are there, how many competent hands are there. And if you have more competent hands from a particular tribe, put them in for crying out loud. Let's fix this country. Listen, the only way, Mr. Makri, I am here to make suggestions, and I don't believe in bloody revolution. I believe in change. I believe in reforms. But I think we need to hold these House of Rep members to account. We have to. We can't continue to sit here and engage. We have to.
Yeah.
You know,
Why are you only referring to the House of Reps? The Senate's out? I mean,
whatever.
The House of Rep is the place.
That's the place
Yeah,
where
the
change can come.
representatives.
Because you know what we can do, and what people like what I should do, if you listen to me, is take 500,000 Nigerians, march to the House of Assembly, sit down there, say we will not live here until you change your decision to spend 37 billion to renovate this building.
let's talk about meritocracy.
If we say we'll do that, it will work. Put that money into whatever. It will work.
So I understand the place of getting the right and the most skillful people to do the job. But there's also the place of fairness, where there's a perception that every available space for leadership is going to one section of the country. And given how diverse we are as a nation, how do we begin to bridge this gap?
At the moment, it's not very good. It's not looking good. I must confess that nobody should, in their moral consciousness, defend the last few appointments, in all honesty. Even if you like the president, you should be able to say to him, Mr. President, sir, I love you, I believe in you, but your appointments have been lopsided. We should be bold enough to say to him that you're a good man, but you've made more appointments from the north. That is a fact. It's a fact. It can be denied. It can be debated. It's a fact. Nigeria belongs to all of us. You should be a bit more conscientious and inclusive to think about others and think about their feelings. That is a fact.
Do you also agree with the point of view that you can get the best hand from any part of the country?
Of course.
Of course, I do. I just said that. I totally believe in that. Absolutely. But I believe it should be spread across the nation. I think fine brains, brilliant minds are everywhere, and we should put them in positions of authority, which is the technocratic aspects of this country, which is to run certain agencies and ensure they deliver the dividends of democracy for the people. But, you know, I believe in that so much.
Let's bring this conversation to your constituency very shortly. So, Mr. President was quoted earlier today to have said we've been fighting on several fronts, violent extremists, cultists, and organized criminal networks. It's not been easy, but as we are winning the war, we also look to the challenge of winning the peace. That's the reconstruction of lives, communities, markets, and the rest. Are we truly winning the war?
We are winning the war, but we've not been able to win the peace. And, you know, it bothers me. When I saw that statement, I was smiling to myself, you know. In a way, I was happy because these are the things we've been saying, you know. Restructure the security sector by either moving the military to go and take their statutory function by, you know, protecting the sovereignty of this, territorial integrity of this country, instead of coming to do police work inside, you know, because they are not trained for the civilian population, okay? Then strengthen the police, or break it down, you know, break it down, because it's too, how do I put it now? It's too big and unwieldy, you know, to manage. But when you bring policing down to the roots, to the grassroots, of course.
Is it the same thing as state police?
Yes, of course. When you have state police, you know, taking care of state laws, and that's where we have mistaken it. You know, many people believe that you just cut it as it is now, and then the commissioner of police will become the head of the state police. No, that's not it. He knows. In the United States, you vote for the sheriff, who is in charge of the local government police. You vote for him. People will come and vote for him. All right? State police, the same thing. Then you have the federal police like the FBI or like the SSS in Nigeria now. Okay? So everybody, policing is down. Even universities have police.
Absolutely.
Okay? Housing estates have their own police.
They have police.
So, Mr. President had a meeting with security chiefs a couple
Yes.
of days ago, and they mentioned the fact that the federal government will now withdraw military from volatile spots in 2020. They call it a gradual withdrawal. But how do you really react to that at such a time as this?
You know, what he's actually saying is that you will concentrate the military to the areas of their mandatory or statutory duties.
Yeah.
You know, don't go and put soldiers pursuing bandits inside. Pull them out. And then, of course, why are they inside? Because the police was not having the capacity, right? Train the police. Equip them. There are modern technological things that they could use, you know, to be top. And, you know, some of our friends or allies, or should I call them that, are ready to play these things with us. I know when I was in service, we trained with the FBI, we trained with CIA, we trained with Israeli security, and of course they are ready to share. So why can't we do that now? And if we're doing it now, you know, boost it so that they can help in internal security, law enforcement, modern policing, you know, in doing what they have to do. Then, of course, there is another thing that he mentioned there, that human security will be taken care of. And there I want to advise that the National Assembly is still that National Assembly problem. You know, the National Assembly should look at the national interests, form a committee to look at that national interest, or within the NSA, National Security Advisor, check that national interest and break it down. What is actually our national interest?
Okay.
And then you list them out, whether they are vital, whether they are extremely important, whether they are very important or less important. And then the security agencies can run with it. And then, of course, as you are breaking down the police into state police and everything, also look at the SSS. Let them be responsible to the Constitution, not the president. Not the president.
We'll get back to that. Let's
Yeah.
begin to look at the role that religion has played and has to play on security in this part of the world. So you recall recently the U.S. Added Nigeria to a watch list of countries that are intolerant when it comes to religious freedom. There are some who say, perhaps religion played a critical role in the farmers' herders clash that we witnessed last year. Help us truly understand how religion has been predominantly responsible for some of these issues.
What kind of issues?
Insecurity, precisely.
Well, of course, I believe that religion is the major reason why we're in this mess with Boko Haram. A particular sect, Islamic sect, the Shiite, felt that they're against education. So it came from a religious belief. I was a Muslim before I became a Christian. And you understand that down in the south, where I come from, we have Muslims and Christians almost in every family. My dad had 17 children. Some of us are Christians. Some of us are still Muslims. We have family meetings. We relate together. We belong to the Sunnis, as one of the call us, the bit more tolerant people. But the Shiites are the fundamentalists, the one that usually come out with radical ideologies and say, no, you do it to the letter. And unfortunately for us, Nifemi, we do not understand that we also have similar Shiites in the Christian faith. Fundamentalist Christians that don't say no, kill them, hate them. I belong to the moderate. I belong to the liberal. I don't believe in all that nonsense. I don't believe in that nonsense that we should reply hate with hate, blood for blood. I don't think so. So as the few Shiites in the Muslim community are trying to pull trouble, we shouldn't do the same in the Christian community. You have some bishops that go to their pulpit and say, if it's anybody that is for Fulani, kill him. That's nonsense. The Bible didn't say that. So we have both Shiites here and Shiites there, as it were. And then, but we ignore the ones here and act as if everybody here is the same. No, this one and that one have also helped in feeding this insecurity in our nation.
How much collaboration currently exists within the Christian leadership? Because there seem to be different thought patterns. You just established that the same way we have Shiites in Islam, we also have Shiites in the Christendom. So, but I believe that Christians believe in the same Bible. So is there a platform upon which you have this discussion?
The human nature. We have a platform. It's called CAN. The CAN leadership is trying to unite the body. The PFN is for the Pentecostals. Equatech and CAN has 5 blocks of all the denominations. They put them in different blocks, coming together under one leadership. The president is a very good man. He's called meetings, about 1 or 2 meetings. He's trying to build a nation of peace. However, like I said earlier on, maybe you didn't hear it, these fundamentalists feel they're bigger than the house.
Yes.
In the Muslim faith, in the Christian faith. The Muslim faith...
So they do not submit to this?
Absolutely.
No.
Those are the Shiites there, don't submit. These ones think they're
very,
bigger.
very fundamental.
Yes, they say, no, that camp president, who is he? I'm bigger than him, I'm richer than him, he's a fool. And so they go out of the body. And so there's nothing you can do, it's a human nature. Right. Human nature means that they feel they're rebellious in their thinking. They're radical in their ideology. They want to dissociate from others. They feel they are bigger. So the only thing you could do is just make sure the majority of the people are under your leadership. While they have pockets here and there, it's everywhere. It's everywhere.
Well, there's still more to discuss. We'll take a break now. When we return, we're going to talk more about Mr. President's speech. It's interesting to know that in his early morning speech today, he mentioned respect for human rights and indeed the rule of law. These are the issues that have made the news in the past months. When we return, we'll touch more on that as well as take your calls on the program. Stay with us.
Bring Chinese to come and build road for us. And of course, engineering students, all our universities have engineering departments. And I don't see any reason why our engineers cannot do our roads or do the rails that we are doing now. Now you bring Chinese to come and do it, you know. And then, of course, these people are out there. So these are the things that we have to look at the root cause. He also mentioned it, that is going to nip it from the root. So I hope they do that.
Let me stay with you for a bit. So in another part of his speech, he was quoted to have said, our actions at all times will be governed by the rule of law. We heard him earlier this year talk about national security superseding the rule of law.
Yes.
Okay, from all of your experience in the security profession, what really does that mean? So many people have referred to other nations.
Many people misquoted the president. They misquoted him. National interest supersedes, or national security supersedes individual rights, not the rule of law. Because the national security and even the national interest is under the rule of law.
Absolutely.
Okay.
It's under the rule of law. But if there is an emergency, then national security will be, you know, upfront, while the individual rights will go back. So I give you an example.
Does that explain, for instance, why an individual has been kept incarcerated for 5 years?
I want to give you an example. Now, it is not something that we have to be very emotional about.
I get the point.
In Nigeria. He has mentioned it. If Shawore wants to feel that what is happening in Nigeria is very bad, he can arrange a protest or a demonstration, gather people and go with them to whoever is responsible to fix this problem. He is not going to call for a revolution. Many people don't know the meaning. They should go to their dictionary right now and look at it.
Takeover of power.
Exactly. And no security agency will sit down and look at you when you are planning to take over power.
Doesn't make sense.
Or overthrow. And now, his own gets complicated because he ran for an election. He also wanted to be a president.
And he lost.
Now, he lost. And instead of waiting for another 4 years, he wants to take over the government by revolution. Hillary Clinton lost an election. She's waiting for the next 4 years or support somebody for the next 4 years. She doesn't go and say, oh, let's get a revolution so that we can throw Trump out of the White House. It doesn't work like that. So you find out that when people like this are arrested, you say, oh, they have been arrested, they've been given bail, but they don't want to. Let me tell you, even in America, it happens. Many people don't know this, but I'll refer them to it. Lawyers are shouting all over the place. When 9/11 happened in our last decade, George Bush came to New York, and after talking to the people there and all the rest, he now rejuvenated or dusted up what they call the Patriot Act. What is the Patriot Act? The Patriot Act is an act of the U.S. government that cancels certain individual rights.
Absolutely.
Indefinite detention
Absolutely.
But for
of
him,
any suspect.
for him, he had a lot to back up what he was doing.
You are not listening.
Oh, I am. I am, absolutely.
You are not listening.
I like that.
The Patriot Act,
Okay.
the Patriot Act of the United States
Yes.
cancels individual rights. If you are suspected by
Pick you up.
by the FBI, they will pick you up and detain
It's the same
you
thing we're saying.
indefinitely. Listen
I'm
to
saying
this.
the act
Listen.
would have become an act because it has gone through the
Listen now,
National
listen,
Assembly
listen
and
now.
passed as a bill.
I'm-
It is
I'm-
on that
not-
premise that the
I've not
government was working on.
landed. I've
Okay.
not landed. Listen to me.
All right.
They will pick you up and detain you indefinitely. The FBI can search your house and arrest you without a court order.
That's right.
That's the Patriot Act of the United States of America that we are mimicking.
I get your point.
All right, now, from what you are now saying,
Yes.
that's why I said that the House of Representatives have a work to do.
Exactly.
All right.
Do you know?
Yes.
So that the national interests will now be formed an act where all these things will be listed out, and then it will become law.
And then there will be a public hearing. Everybody
Of course,
will be
it
carried
will
along.
be something that
That
everybody can
appears
use.
to be the slight difference between the U.S. and Nigeria right now. So there's this troubling development.
Yes.
There's a lot of churches in Nigeria. Nigeria even perhaps is very historic. We have some of the largest congregations in the world. But many people are concerned about how much impact our religious organizations, our growing religious structure is having on the quality of leadership, the quality of life of our people. Earlier on, we established the fact that corruption remains key to the root of some of our biggest challenges. But these people who we name corrupt are churchgoers, they are mosque goers. Many of them are even, they take front seats in church. So you begin to wonder how much impact really is the growing faith in Nigeria having on our quality of life and governance, so to speak.
Femi, you are tempting me.
I thought you were not talk about it.
You are tempting me. You are tempting me, and I don't want to yield to this temptation. But I have to answer your question. I would say this sadly: the church has failed the country, and I've said that last 10, 15 years. I'm very unpopular, perhaps unloved, by some of my colleagues, older, peer level, because of my position on this situation. We're very unpopular. We failed the nation. The church is supposed to churn out morals, not speak about money. Prosperity messages has killed our morals. Cash is king, not character, has destroyed the entire moral fabric of this nation. We have hated and supported corruption. We have been funded. Our big churches or cathedrals, none of them can put up their hands and say they built those things without root of corruption. I've challenged them before. I've challenged them. It's not normal tithes and offering. It's stolen wealth. It's a commonwealth of the people. I don't know why we want to act as if we don't know the truth. Where is the money coming from? It's stolen wealth.
Yes.
And I've said it a few times. People don't like me saying it, but that is the truth. That is look for me, it's the truth.
So,
we failed the
then,
people. We failed the nation. We
What
need
then is
radical
the
change.
place? I'm sorry to cut in.
Yes.
What then is the place of kingdom prosperity that pastors preach? Are you saying that there is no sane way to have made wealth without taking it from the people?
No, you can. You can. You can work hard and save. That's kingdom prosperity. Joseph became prime minister. He didn't steal. He kept the nation's resources. He gave 20% savings. He built up his savings. Kingdom prosperity is this. I'm telling you, God will bless you. The little you earn, the enemy will not take from it. You won't spend on accidents, on sicknesses. God will keep you healthy. God will keep you strong. So
that's what I'm saying. That wouldn't it be assumption to have said that? Oh, all of the big structures that the church.
Most of it, all of them. I've challenged them. Forget it. Quote me anywhere. Quote me anywhere. Don't let us make. I'm not making statements out of the place. I said most of the big churches that we built are built with corruption, loot. Quote me anywhere.
Yes.
I mean, that's the truth. And the government does not have the nerve to go check in the churches. Hey, they'll call it persecution. They'll call it persecution. So let's allow it to go like that way.
Yeah.
Many years ago, I had a meeting with Nuri Badu, a few of us church leaders, when he was EFCC chairman. He called us on and said, we have to take the battle against corruption to church. I signed up the charter. I said, let church do anti-corruption Sunday once a year. Exactly. How many churches preach against corruption?
Yes.
Tell me. We don't. We don't speak prosperity as if it's in the same country. So I think that we have too many churches. Many years ago, the way we proliferated churches across this nation is embarrassing, because it's almost like, you listen to me, you have a country where you have education, schools everywhere, and illiteracy level is high. There's something wrong.
Yes.
You have food canteens everywhere, and people are hungry.
Yes.
There's something wrong. You have churches everywhere, and the moral level is low. There's something wrong.
What is the solution to all of this?
The way to fix the church solution, to be truthful to ourselves, and the government to be truthful. The people have the power. I feel the people also love it so. Jeremiah 5:31. They love to be oppressed. They love to be subjugated. They just love to go along. And as I said, the people in this country, in my opinion, had a problem. Because I would leave some churches. I would not go there anymore. And I won't fight church. I won't fight God. But I'll say, look, I don't believe you're clean. I'll look for a good church and I'll go to. I would nurture my conscience with the truth, with the word, with character. We must go back to preach character and morals. That is the solution. Listen to me. If 20 years, we pound our pulpit with morals and character, we stop giving chieftaincy or deaconship or pastoral titles to thieves and criminals, people will know that it's not attractive. There's a magnet for corruption in Nigeria. Strong magnet. It pays to be corrupt.
All right, let's take this conversation to let's take this
If you're not
conversation
corrupt, they look at you
to
as very
Sweden. Mike just called in from Sweden. Good morning, Mike. Happy New Year to you.
Good morning, my brother.
Good morning.
Happy New Year to you all.
Happy New Year.
I want to contribute to this program for this 2 years.
All right, go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, most of the problem in Nigeria is most of it our Christian brothers and they don't do the right thing in business. And people bring money to them actually, and they know the set of their influence. You know?
I'm trying to make sense of what you're saying, but we can hardly hear you. I understand that Sweden is a little bit far, but you might have to call us back so that we can hear you very clearly. Let's talk about the joint land border security exercise, for instance. The president touched on it in a speech, and he's saying no one can doubt that we have been good neighbors and good citizens. We have been the helpers and shock absorbers of the sub-region, but we cannot allow our well-planned economic regeneration plans to be sabotaged. As soon as we're satisfied with the safeguards are adequate, normal cross-border movements will be resumed. How much impact do you think this is having on security?
It has really, really impacted, but I want them to also introduce one other aspect when these borders are closed, you know, because our borders are the most porous all over the world. And you find out that it's just free movement. Now, most of the free movement, you have people coming in, proliferation of arms, in and out. And then we have all these terrorist groups running amok all over the place. So now that the borders are closed, we should make sure that we now establish risks and make sure that the other ones are blocked. I don't want to advocate for walls because we're in 2020 right now. Technology can take care of that. Technology, drone technology, and quick response. That's all we need. Then we should be able to make sure that those who are coming in and those who are going out are controlled by us.
All right. Let's take Emmanuel's call from Otoko, right? Good morning, Emmanuel.
Good morning, Nifemi.
Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year to you. Happy New Year to your guests in the studio.
Happy New Year.
Yomi and Amakri.
Yes.
Happy New Year.
I have two things to say here. The issue of security. I think the lawyers have to help us with you journalists. It's like it's a conspiracy of the sort that you choose to misquote the president at any given opportunity about his declaration about national security and rule of law. Thank God that Macri has cleared the air there.
Exactly.
Please, let's be patriotic.
Yeah.
We have chosen to give America as example all the time.
Yeah.
Americans are patriotic. That's why their country is standing. My people have a popular saying that it is only a bastard who flees from his father's land, points in direction of his father's land, says work to his father's land. It's only a bastard that does that. Because north, south, east, and west, whom is the best? Whether America is prospering today, who knows tomorrow? Let's build Nigeria so that we can live in peace.
Yeah.
Then, secondly, you were talking about the issue of border closure. I think we will benefit from it. We are already reaping benefit, and we will continue to benefit. Let the borders remain closed for as long as possible.
Thank you very much, Emmanuel from Benue State. Glad to hear from you. So we have asked severally, where's the National Orientation Agency in helping to better educate Nigerians and instill this spirit of patriotism?
Yes.
Is this where the church can also come in? To because you know there are prayers you hear in church also. You're going to get that visa this week. It's like we have made traveling out of Nigeria an apparent breakthrough. And we have totally forgotten the fact that we can also pray and change things in this part of the world.
You're very correct. I like the way you put it, that praying, getting out of Nigeria is a breakthrough. That word breakthrough has been abused, and you're very correct. It's unfortunate that we have done that. And I think the church should, of course, like I've said earlier on, should change a focus to building a nation. Look, I said to some of our colleagues that if this country goes up in flames, there'll be no tithes for you to collect. There'll be no church services for you to run. There'll be nobody coming to your assembly. Go to Liberian history. Go to Rwandan history. You know, when there was no nation, when they were in war, in civil war, there was no church. So we should begin to preach patriotism. And I believe in that. I preach that every now and then. We should come together and put our hands together to say, let's build this country. I think our church fathers should begin to consider that again.
Abubakar has called in from Abuja. Good morning, Abubakar. How's the FCT today?
Yeah, good morning. Compliment of the season. And how are you?
Terrific. Wish you the same.
Yeah, good morning. Compliment of the season. And Happy New Year.
Good morning.
Good morning.
On this security issue.
You have to stop listening to yourself on TV. You don't have all the time in the world. So just keep talking, Abubakar. Keep talking.
Yeah, on this security issue, in those days when we were coming up as a young children or so, every community polices its environment. And I think we have to go back to that system again, whereby when you have a stranger in your environment or your community, you should know where he's coming from, what is he doing, and what is he up to, so that at the end of the day, you know that you don't have unnecessary guests in your environment. Because we will not leave the policing to the government alone. And it is because you have left the policing to the government alone, that is why they are finding it difficult to control this issue of banditry and all this terrorism around our area. But when we have the issue whereby everybody is a police in its environment, it will help. And when you have a stranger, you can call the people who can apprehend those people, not taking law into your hand also.
Thank you very much for your contribution. That also brings us to the issue of communal life. So growing up, they say it takes a whole community to raise a child. It's different now when all of our houses are fenced, and then there's this dichotomy between the rich and the poor. Do you think that we're ever going to get back that African community?
It's very difficult if we continue to try to westernize in the name of civilization. There's a difference between westernization and civilization. I'm a civilized person, but not westernized person. And what we're trying to do, because again, we don't understand the difference, is try to be Europeans in Nigeria. And we have different cultures. And you know, I can be, we to be Americans in Nigeria. We should once again go up there and begin to celebrate our culture. And our culture is communal in nature. We have people that live in hut, hamlets, and villages, and we know ourselves, and we try to protect and project ourselves out in the right light. And in my place, they say, you know, they tell you the proverb that we want to know it's only a bad child that will use the left hand to point to his own father's house. To tell you who you are, they check your household. To even marry. When I went to marry 25 years ago, they went, my people, my wife's people, they did background check on me, my father, my mother.
They don't do that again now.
They don't do that again.
They would have done engagement before introduction.
They check your bank account.
Let's take our last caller on the show today. Bega's called in from Abuja. Good morning, Bega.
Good day, my brother.
Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year to your guests.
Happy
New Year.
Yes, I want to put the line of the last caller.
All right.
You talk about security, that the populace should still fight and against all this insurgency and other security challenges as our fight. And that's where we can get it right. And not only on security, really the area of corruption. What we are seeing outside there, even on social media, people take the fight against corruption as Buhari's fight. We have not really equipped ourselves in that position. Say, look, all of us want to fight corruption.
Yes.
The civil servant, when the civil servant say no corruption, that's when the corruption can end in Nigeria. And that starts from human eye. If we have not really said, look, take it as our own fight, I'm telling you, Buhari will stay in there 3-4 years, he will leave.
All right. Thank you so much, Benga, for your call. Looks like the Abuja people are very alive this morning.
You cannot be more correct.
Gentlemen, we have to go.
Yes.
But I understand how instrumental intelligence is for security operatives to win this war. In 1 minute, how can Nigerians in this new year cooperate better with security operatives?
Okay, now you know that when policemen crack a crime, they are not magicians. They work with the public, you know, and that's why we want policing to go all the way down to the grassroots. Now, an American policeman they will bomb Boston, and then within 24 hours, he was not there, but he will find the persons that did it. And we can do that. It's just through technology and, you know, information from
Dennis Amakre, MON, security consultant, former assistant director of the State Security Service. It's always a pleasure to have you on the program, and Happy New Year to you.
Thank you.
Reverend Yomi Kasali, very versatile. So I was expecting you to be quoting scriptures, but there are very, very relevant things you've talked about this morning. We're looking forward to host you more this new year. He's the founder and senior pastor of the Foundation of Truth Assembly, headquartered in Lagos. Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year.
All right, Happy New Year to everyone. We love you. We celebrate you. Thank you for 2019. We're doing it again this year, even bigger and better. I am Nifemi Oguntoye. God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and we'll be back tomorrow. Amen. Thank you so much for